Okay, everybody, this is Carter Howarth. I'm taping today because the 8th graders are currently in Washington, D.C. Today we're going to do a quick lesson on solving quadratic equations, lesson 9.3. Vocabulary. Quadratic equation, an equation that can be written as ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Standard form of a quadratic equation. Quadratic equation written in the form above. Ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Root of an equation. Solutions of a quadratic equation in the x-intercepts of the graph. So that's those dots right there. Zero of a function is the same as a root of an equation. So these two mean the same thing. Example 1. What are the solutions? Use a graph. So we have x squared minus 9 equals 0. So what are we going to do here? First of all, we have a 9. So let's take our graph and make it go by threes. Negative 3, negative 6, negative 9. 3, 6, 9, and so on. So then we have right here negative 9. So let's put a dot right here at negative 9. Then take your equation, x squared minus 9 equals 0, and let's just plug in a 3. 3 squared is 9. 9 minus 9 equals 0. So we know that our points are going to be at 3 because that fits the equation, and make your parabola. Now remember, your solutions then are 3 and negative 3, which in this case would be negative 3, 0, 3, 0, since there's no y. So when you're looking at it, if it's at negative 3, it's going to be at 3, because remember, a parabola is equal on both sides. Okay, letter B. If you want to do this on your own, please pause the video and go ahead and try it. If not, I'm going to start right now. X squared minus 16 equals 0. So let's take a look at this. What should we go by if we have a 16? I think the easiest would probably be going by 4s. So let's do negative 4, negative 8, negative 12, negative 16. Okay, next up. So we have, just like our negative 9, we have a negative 16. Put a dot at negative 16. Then, what would satisfy this equation? Something squared minus 16 equals 0, which means that the x squared has to equal 16, because 16 minus 16 equals 0. What squared is 16? 4, of course. So our dots are going to be at 4, in this case if I'm going by 4, and then parabola. So your solutions are negative 4, 4. You can write it with this symbol, or you can write it as coordinates. So that's a lot of work in this little room, but there's a lot of different ways you can write the answer. Example 2, solve with square roots. So let's look here. M squared minus 36 equals 0. So you're going to add your 36's. So we're going to lose our 36 here, and then we're going to add a 36 here. M squared equals 36 is our new equation. The square root of 36, because this is M squared, is 6. So our solutions are negative 6 and 6, or the same exact thing, negative 6 and 6. Because with your parabola, you have it like this. It's going to hit a negative and a positive. So unless you have a real world problem, it's going to be a negative and a positive usually. R squared plus 49 equals 49. So you can go ahead and pause the video and do this problem on your own. If not, I'm going to start right now. So we have, let's do the same thing we did earlier, minus 49, minus 49, that way. So positive 49 minus 49, it gone, 49 minus 49, that disappears as well. So all we have is r squared equals 0, meaning we only have one solution. Instead of the 2, like I said earlier, we're only going to have 1, because you can't have a negative and positive 0, obviously. So once it goes, it's just going to be on the 0 point. Example 2 continued, solving with square roots. So we have 3x squared minus 27 equals 0. So get 3x squared on one side. Now my workspace is going to be over here. So how are we going to get 3x squared on one side? You're going to add 27. So 3x squared, it's now 3x squared equals 27. Because we're adding 27 to both sides. So that goes there. get x squared on one side. So now we're going to divide by 3. X squared equals 9. Find your square root. 9 does have a perfect square root, and that is 3. So our solution is negative 3 and 3, because x would equal negative 3 and 3. So those are our two solutions. Example 3, finding the length of a square with an area of 169 meters squared. If you want to do this on your own, I have the steps listed here. You can pause the video, follow the arrows, and try to do it on your own. I'll be starting right now. Match with the quadratic equation and solve. So we're going to try to figure out the equation here. What's the equation for a side of a square? Now most people know this. Area the area equals the side squared, correct? So next up, we're going to be doing, we know that a square sides are equal, so s times s equals the area, 169. So our defined equation is right here, 169 equals s squared. So the equation for the square is a equals s squared. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties here. And solve. It's positive because it's a square. So, 169 s squared. So if you go back here, as you can see, this was more with square roots. Right here, we're doing the same thing. What's the square root of 169? It's 13. So if our solution is 13 because it's s squared, so we know our solution is 13. So if you got 13, congrats, you're correct. The summary of solving quadratic equations. It can be written as ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. You may use a graph, and you may also use square roots. Thank you for learning about 9-3 with Carter J. Hellworth. I hope you learned a lot about this lesson, and you now know how to solve using square roots and graphs. This is Carter Hellworth, signing off.